Hello and welcome to the History Help channel. Today we will be looking into the 8th chapter in the class 6 history, which talks about the Mauryan dynasty. So the Mauryan dynasty or the Mauryan empire. So we will it's a big chapter, so I will be dividing it into the political history of the Mauryas, and then we will look into the administration of the Mauryas. So what and all we will cover in this chapter is, we'll talk a little bit about the Mahajanapada of Magadha. Then we will talk about the Mauryan Empire. Then we will talk about what are the sources for this Mauryan Empire. We will look into the political history. Political history means who are the kings of the Mauryan dynasty and what and all they did and how they declined. How did the empire declined? How did it get destroyed? Then we will take a look into the administration of the Mauryas. We'll also look into its contributions. So we will go step by step to help you understand a bit about the empire itself. So until now, we talked about 6th century BC, right? We spoke about how there were some 16 Mahajanapadas in 6th century BC, like Magdha, Kosala, Vajji, and Malla, and Kashi, and so many other Mahajanapadas we spoke about. So take a look at this map for you to get a more clarity on Mahajanapadas, which we covered in class, that is covered in the lesson 5. Take a look at this slide. So we know there were 16 Mahajanapadas. So they were either ruled as monarchy or they were ruled as republic. Okay, monarchy means a king used to rule, and after a king died, his son used to rule. So that was how the Mahajanapadas were ruled, or it was a republic where uh, equally all the kings used to come, powerful men used to come, and they used to administer the Mahajanapada. So either as monarchy or as a republic. So this is about Mahajanapadas. So out of those 16 Mahajanapadas, Magdha became very powerful. Magdha was near the Bihar region, in Rajgraha regions, where it had plenty of iron, it had rivers, it was fertile. So Magdha slowly became more powerful. So there were a lot of kings who ruled over Magdha. So before the Mauryans actually came, there were a lot. So Magdha was ruled by many kings, like Magdha was ruled by somebody named as what is it? Sishunga. Sisunaga. Okay. Then Nanda. All of them. So Magdha was ruled by many kings. So what is a dynasty? When we say a king, there is a dynasty. The dynasty means king rules. After that, his son rules. After that, his son. So, there was Nanda dynasty in Magdha. So Magdha Mahajanapada was ruled by the Nanda dynasty. Nanda dynasty means there are a lot of kings from the Nanda clan itself, or the Nanda family itself, who used to rule Magdha in succession. Okay. So before Nanda dynasty, there was some other dynasty known as Sisunaga. So it also had its own kings. So Magadha as a Mahajanapada was having a monarchy kind of system, but with different dynasties in picture. You have understood now what's a dynasty, no? A dynasty means a king is there of the family, then his son itself will be the king next. So it is all in the particular family, and that is a particular dynasty. If some other king comes and conquers, then if he is victorious, then his sons will follow. That's a different dynasty. So first there was Sisunaga, then Nanda. So when Nanda was ruling, what happened we will see. Nanda dynasty was there. What was happening we will see. So this Nanda dynasty time period was sometime in 320s, 321, even before that and a little. So 320 BC kind of thing. So let us be more specific. 326 BC. So what I mentioned was in 6th BC there were 16 Mahajanapadas. 5th BC happened, 4th BC happened, and in 326 BC, that time there was a dynasty called as Nandas. Before it, there was some other dynasty, Sisunaga. Even before that, there was some other dynasty in Magdha. Why? Because Magdha is a very fertile region. So Magdha was the most important of all the 16 Mahajanapadas. Hope you have understood this. Now let us understand what's an empire. Okay, we understood what's a dynasty. So dynasty kings would rule that particular region. But what is an empire? We learnt about Magdha. What is an empire? Empire is when many regions come under one particular dynasty. Like for example, many states come into picture. So let me show you. So one of the important first empires and the largest empire is the Mauryan Empire. So that empire had many states under its control. So the first empire in India was the Mauryan Empire. So we will now look into the Mauryan Empire. To give you an idea of the Mauryan Empire, the Mauryan Empire was the greatest empire, and it had states like Orissa, Bengal, Bihar, northwest part of India, central India, and even the south. So big empire it was. Let me show you a picture of the Mauryan Empire. Take a look. So now that you have seen the Mauryan Empire, you understood what's an empire. Empire means a lot of big regions and states have come under Mauryan Empire. And in our country, the first empire was Mauryas. Now, who were the Mauryas? So, Maurya is a tribe. It was from the Maurya tribe. Okay, that's what they believe. Historians believe that was a small tribe called Maurya. So I told you around 326 BC, the Nanda was ruling. A Nanda dynasty was ruling in Magdha. It was very big. In fact, it was so big, it had many elephants, horses, and all. And during 326 BC, the northwest of India, the Greeks had come conquering our country. So you might have heard of the name Alexander. Okay, so Alexander, when he came to northwest of India in 326 BC, he was capturing a lot more regions. He didn't enter the northern part of the country. Why? Because Alexander's army heard that in Magdha there was a very powerful ruler of Nanda dynasty, and they had some, they had some 2 lakh soldiers, some 60,000 horses, and some 6,000 war elephants. So Alexander's army told, we are not going to fight the Nanda dynasty. How many horses they had? Some 60,000 horses, and they had some 6,000 elephants. So the Alexander's army was scared. So they said, we won't come. Such was the power of Nanda dynasty. But the ruler was somebody named as Dharmananda. Let me just see. Dhanananda. So Dhanananda. And he was from the Nanda dynasty. He was very unpopular. Nobody liked him much. There were a lot of, because he was very powerful, his administration was not going on well. People were not happy with him and all that. So, sometime in 321 BC, sometime in 321 BC, a person named as, a young boy named as Chandragupta Maurya. Chandragupta Maurya from the Maurya tribe killed Dhanananda, this king from the Nanda dynasty. So in 326 BC, when Alexander had come to, was in the northwest part of the country, the Nanda dynasty was quite powerful, because we know the Alexander's army has written that there were so many 60,000 this one horses and 6,000 elephants. But in 321 BC, just 5 years after that, this one after that, Chandragupta Maurya actually killed Dantananda, and he established the Mauryan dynasty. It soon became an empire covering big regions that you have already seen the picture. So, Chandragupta Maurya. How did Chandragupta Maurya, a soldier, overthrow such a powerful dynasty? That is because he had a very good advisor named as Kautilya, or his other name was Chanakya. So he was a very chief advisor, very learned man, very good scholar. He knew how to break the kingdom of Nanda. So with Kautilya's help, Chandragupta Maurya in 321 BC established the Mauryan Empire. So now there is no concept of Mahajanapadas. The empires have started coming in the country. Okay. So Mauryan Empire is the greatest. Secondly, it has a lot of regions like Orissa, Bengal, Bihar, central part of India, everything. And the biggest thing about Mauryans is everything is dated. Like you know what's happening in 321 BC, you are knowing what is happening in 260 BC. You know, so from now onwards, India has records. Oh, this date this happened, this date this happened. Still, it's not very clear, but many of the sources and information we have from this period. Unlike the prehistory period, like Stone Ages, Harappans, Indus Valley, which were all very vague, the history period from Mauryan dynasty is very clear. It is fully dated. How? Because of the sources. Okay. So we have understood what's an empire. We have learnt a little bit about Mauryan Empire, which was started by a Maurya tribe. The person was Chandragupta Maurya, who defeated the Nanda dynasty and who started the Mauryan Empire in 321 BC. Okay. Now let us take a look into the sources. What are sources and why are they important? We already learnt in chapter 1 of class 6 that history is based on sources. History in this way is like a science. Without sources, history can't be written. So you require books, you require archaeological sources like coins, books, or monuments and all that. Only then history can be written. So what were the sources during 321 BC period? So there are many sources, out of which I am going to tell you 3 to 4 sources. Okay. First source is by Kautilya. You know the chief. Who was the minister or the advisor for Chandragupta Maurya? It was a person named Kautilya. He wrote a very good book called Arthashastra. What is this? Arthashastra talks about how to manage a particular region or a state. How should the army be? What and all tactics has to be used? Whether spies have to be used? How the army should be disciplined, how the different regions have to be looked after, how should money come into the capital, what are the different ways of earning money. Artha Shastra is that big book which gives a lot of information of things happening during 300 BC. So that's a first good source of Mauryan dynasty or Mauryan empire. Okay. The second one is I told you there were Greeks in the northwest part of the country. So Chandragupta Maurya, after Chandragupta Maurya also had captured some of the Greek regions like Afghanistan, Kabul in Pakistan and all. So people from there also used to visit Chandragupta Maurya. One of them was a Greek person known as Megasthenes. Okay, he wrote a book called Indica. So he was a Greek fellow who had come to the palace of Chandragupta Maurya, and he wrote a book called Indica. Indica talks about what was the political situation in Patliputra, Mauryan Empire. What was the social, how was the society, what was the economic condition, how was the revenue coming. So he wrote a book called Indica. So that is also, I told you, books are very important sources of history. And so thanks to Kautilya and thanks to Megasthenes, we know a lot more about how the Mauryan Empire was, who were the kings, how did it fall down, how did they expand, what was their trade, what was their economy, what was their society. That's how we know. If we didn't have these books, we wouldn't have had so much to study about Mauryan Empire. So thanks to these people, we are learning a little bit about the history part of Mauryan Empire. Next, we will look into, then many centuries later, that is in 6th century, there were many stories or dramas also which they wrote. It came much later, but that is also taken as a source. After that, there were some religious texts like I told you Buddhism and Jainism also had come during 6th century BC. They also wrote something. So Buddhist Jataka tales gives a lot of information about this Mauryan dynasty. And Buddhism had also gone to Sri Lanka. So there are some texts of Sri Lanka also which talks about the Mauryan dynasty. Then we have some Jain works also. Jainism also had, there are some works. Then we have some Puranas, that is Vishnu Purana also talks about the Mauryan dynasty. Then, not only that, now this and all are books we talk. What about remains? Any past remains or archaeological remains are there? Yes, one is coins. We have some silver coins from this period which tells you about who is the king and all. We also have some remains like pillars, rocks that was left behind. The pillars and rocks have some kind of writing which is known as inscription. That also we have. Okay. So those are the sources. So what are the sources? One is books written like Arthashastra and Indica. Then there are some religious books also. Then we have coins, pillars, rocks also from the Mauryan period. So that is what we have learnt about sources. Now let us take a look into the political history of the kingdom. Okay. So what is the political history? So so under political history, we will. So I've already told you how Chandragupta Maurya was the first king. So he ruled from 321 BC till 297 BC. He was the first king. He defeated the Nanda dynasty and he made a Mauryan empire. The capital was in Pataliputra. Okay. He had an advisor, Kautilya. Then he went and captured northwest regions in the country like Kabul, Afghanistan and all. And those regions came. Then he also, so now entire North India, he united. So it had grown from Pataliputra to different regions in North India. It had grown. After that, his son Bindusara, he ruled from 297 BC to 273 BC. Okay. He also he also waged wars and defeated many people. But Central and South India, many portions came under the Mauryan Empire. So first Chandragupta Maurya united North India. When Bindusara came, he still expanded it further. He took over Central and some regions of South, Deccan and also empire became a bit bigger. After that, he died in 273 BC. After that, Ashoka came. So Ashoka ruled from 273 BC to 232 BC. So he was also, as a prince himself, he had waged wars. As a king, when he became a king, uh, he waged a war. One of the most important wars is the Kalinga War. This was in 261 BC. Kalinga is your present day Orissa. So that was Orissa, that near Orissa there was a kingdom called Kalinga Kingdom. It was a very important kingdom. It had controlled the trade routes which was going towards south. So Ashoka needed that kingdom so that he would control and reach towards South India. So he waged a war in 261 BC. But after the war, Ashoka changed, and that is the reason he is called Ashoka the Great. Why? After waging a war, he realized that there were a lot of bloodshed. Okay, so one of his he has inscribed in a rock that around 1,50,000 men were deported. Some 100,000 were killed, and he has seen all this. So he feels very bad, and for this reason he decides that I'm no longer going to fight any more wars. He takes up Buddhism. And decides that he is going to preach peacefulness and always look into the welfare of the people. So that's why he is Ashoka the Great, because after realizing that battles can cause problems, he decided that he is not going to wage any more wars, instead focus on peace and welfare in the country. That's what made him a great king. So what and all did he do? Let's see. So first of all, let's talk about, he built good roads for travelers to go from one place to another. Then he built rest houses. Rest houses are for travelers to stay and settle down. Then he built wells for his people. Then he gave medical care to animals and humans. He treated them fair. Okay. Then he preached something called Dhamma. What is a Dhamma? Dhamma is a way of living. So show respect to your elders, show compassion to your friends, animals, show kindness, tell the truth, be honest. All these are a way of living. That is what he preached. Not just preaching, what he did was, he wrote on rocks and in pillars. Pillars are like the columns. Rocks also he wrote. What did he write? He wrote about the Dhamma. Dhamma is the religious policy that he followed. It's a code of conduct, like be respectful, be compassionate. So he wrote in rocks and pillars. Why did he write on rocks and pillars? That is because he wanted everybody to know about what he is thinking, what he wants to do. That is, he wrote his vision. Okay. Now these rocks are not ordinary rocks. These rocks were on high places. Some rocks were in high places where people used to go to and fro. They were all trade routes. So he put these rocks in. He wrote these writings everywhere. You can find them from Afghanistan, Kabul, even till Karnataka in south. So he wrote in the languages in which people understood. So the common language during that time was Prakrit. So he wrote in Prakrit language, but the script was Brahmi. Script is the writing. Okay, language is the spoken one. So Prakrit was the common language. He wrote in Brahmi. So this was understood in India. But what about in Afghanistan, Kabul and all? So in Kabul, he wrote in another script called Kharoshti. So this is a script which is written from right to left. So in Kabul, you find rocks written in Kharoshti script. In India, you find rocks written in Brahmi script. And if you go still further, in Afghanistan and all, he also wrote in something called Greek and Aramaic. Greek And these were the language scripts known there. Northwest was majorly Greeks, right? So Afghanistan, when he used to go, there would be a different kind. So that was his vision, so that everybody would understand. So these are also very important historical sources. We know what Ashoka thought. We know where and all his regions extended, because from Afghanistan to Karnataka you have found his rocks. We know his boundaries of his kingdom. We know what and all he was doing for the welfare of the people, because he wrote there, the so and so I am doing, and so are, this is the way I am going to do, and all that. Not just this, he also sent Mahamatras, which is actually which are actually messengers telling this is how you should do. They were like messengers going from one place to another. Not only that, he also sent his children, Mahendra, his son, and Sangamitra, his daughter, to Sri Lanka to spread that message. So he sent messengers to Egypt, so many other places, Sri Lanka. That's how Buddhism spread. He talked about non-violence, peace. So because of the patronage of Ashoka, Buddhism spread to various different countries, from Sri Lanka to China, so many other places. Okay, so that is why Ashoka is great. So after Ashoka, that is in 232 BC, he died. After that, this empire, Mauryan Empire, which had come till south, slowly disintegrated. After Ashoka's death, the kings were very weak, okay, and the kingdom also got divided. There were other empires or other dynasties in the south, in the Greek, the northwestern India, which were all attacking, like the Indo-Greeks were attacking. So the empire slowly disintegrated. Okay, the last king was of this Mauryan Empire was Brihadratha. Okay, he was the last king. He was killed by his own minister, army person, commander in chief. His name was Pushyamitra Sungha. Pushyamitra Shunga. This happened in 185 BC. So Pushyamitra Sungha killed the last king of Mauryan dynasty, that was Brihadratha, and Pushyamitra Shunga established the Sunga dynasty. What is the dynasty he established? Sunga dynasty. So after the Mauryans came the Sunga dynasty. So that is why it declined, because of both internal and external reasons it declined. Okay. Next we will look into the administration. Okay. So we learnt about political history, the different kings, Chandragupta Maurya, Bindusara, Ashoka, the last king was Brihadratha, and how it declined. Okay. Now let us take a look into the administration of the this Mauryan Empire. Okay, so administration. So you have seen. Take a look at this map. So you saw in this map how big it is. The brown color portions were the Mauryan Empire. So the empire was very big. That is why Chandragupta Maurya, who founded the Mauryan Empire, gave a few guidelines, rules. Okay, he said that the capital was at Patliputra, right? So the capital was at Patliputra, and it was centrally managed. A king used to be there who used to look after the entire region. Now a king can't do the whole region, right? So what he also had few help. So who were his helpers? So there was a king. He had ministers. So some 3 to 4 or 5 people used to be the ministers who used to advise the king. So he had a council of ministers. Okay. So the Purohit, that is the priest, then the Senapati, that is the army man, all of them were a part of that council. Okay. Then the region, his region extended from north to south, right? They were all divided into provinces. Provinces means different regions, and each of that province was ruled by a prince or an important official. Okay, the province was ruled by a prince. So the prince used to report to the king. So that's how they used to manage a very big region. So the province itself was divided into districts and all that, which comes later. But mainly there were some four provinces like Patliputra, Takshila, Ujjain, and all of them. So each of the province, important province, was ruled by a prince, and they used to report to king as to what's happening. So this was how the administration was. Now the capital Patliputra itself had some committees. What's a committee? Committee is a group which looks after, which had some work. So there was a committee for looking after birth and death. There was a committee to collect goods and goods tax. Products used to come in a city, right? So they used to inspect the goods, then collect tax. Then there was a committee to look after foreigners and where they stayed and how many days they will stay. So there was a committee for that. And then there was a committee for sanitation, that is the hygiene and all. So that was how they divided the work. So the city had some 6 committees like this. Okay, so they used to be for birth, foreigners, sanitation, goods, handicrafts and all that. And the entire region was divided into provinces, and each province used to be, important province used to be ruled by a prince. Then what about the army? So the army was divided into infantry, cavalry and elephants. So infantry means soldiers, cavalry means horses, with horse this one, elephants you already know. So nearly there were some 6 lakh soldiers, and then cavalry was some 30,000. So this is what is mentioned in the books or the sources of history. So they just said that they even had a navy. So imagine in 321 BC to the 281 to 185 BC, the empires had war elephants, the empires had horses to fight battles, it had foot soldiers, it had navy. So you can see the progress the country was. So that was the army. So you learnt about the administration, you learnt about the army. So now we will look into the taxes. See, all these army and all that is fine, but a kingdom needs revenue. So that how they used to get revenue was through taxes. So they used to collect tax on agriculture. So a portion, that is 1/6 to 1/4 of the product, whatever the farmer does, maybe grains or maybe any pulses or anything, 1/6 of his produce he would give it to the king. Then tax was there on trade. Traders also had to pay a tax. Craft people had to pay a tax. Then cattle people, cow herds had to pay a tax. So there were many taxes they used to collect. So that's how they became more powerful. Also certain areas like mining and then arms, that is weapons, only king had control, that is the kingdom had the control, the central administration had the control. Nobody else they gave the control. Obviously you can't give mining rights to somebody, you cannot give army, arms, weapons, which is security, it cannot be given to other parties. So central had sole control over these things. Also such a big region, how they used to administer, they used to send out spies. Spies are those people who eavesdrop and they get information and then they report to the king. So there were spies following ministers and spies to see what's happening in the kingdom. Then there were spies for officials and all that. So that's how the king used to know what's happening in such a big region. Okay, so there were spies also. Then not only that, there were also, land rule. The Patliputra kingdom, the capital, was well connected through roads and through rivers. So Ganga and Son and all of them were flowing there, and so they used to have the river connection, and they had good roads. So the Patliputra was well connected. So transport also plays a very important role. Something is happening, people, spies would go through horses, figure out what's happening, also report back. So route was very good, and navy was very good, and spice network was there. So all this kept the region well administered. Okay. Now we will take a look into, and one of the things you might ask, trade was very brisk. What and all they used to trade? They used to send out textiles. They used to send out spices. India used to send out. We used to get back horses, gold, and all that. Okay. Now let us take a look into the art. Okay. So contributions. Main thing is they built stupas and viharas. They also built rock cut caves. So we have already seen Ashoka was into Buddhism, and in fact Chandragupta Maurya was into Jainism. So they all these rock cut caves which they did for monks were always carved with stories. So they were rock cut caves had the Chaitya, Vihara, and all that stupa. All of them were beautifully having doors and kind of carvings telling about stories. So art was recognized in this period. So we didn't have the earliest temples or whatever shrines we call is these rock cut caves, and thanks to Buddhism and Jainism many artwork was done, which we have already seen in Buddhism and Jainism, this one slide. So here too art was very beautifully depicted. Also some Nagarjuna, this one Bihar, near Bihar, there were caves near Gaya and all that. So we have found that. Also pillars. So I've already mentioned you about the inscriptions, writings of Ashoka on pillars. So what used to be a pillar was something like a column, and its head had some kind of a capital of a lion or any other animal. So there used to be some animal figures. So the beauty of this pillar was it was rock, but it was so nicely polished that it used to be like some kind of a metal. So this kind of pillars are found in various places. One of them was found in Varanasi, near Varanasi, known as Sarnath. That had the capital was beautiful. The pillar was beautiful. The capital had the lions, 4 lions. It also had a picture of a bull, horse, and there was a chakra in the center. It also had a lotus. So you can take a look at this picture. So this is the Sarnath pillar, Sarnath pillar of Ashoka with a lion capital. Now where have you seen this? This is actually adopted as our India's emblem, state emblem of India. This is the picture that they have adopted. So this, what is an emblem? Emblem is used as the official seal for our passports and all official documents. So our state emblem actually comes from the Sarnath capital that was established in Ashoka's time. Okay, so this is about the brief introduction to the contributions of Mauryan Empire. One is the architecture, stupas, viharas, and rock cut caves. One is the rock inscriptions and pillars, which we have found still today. Okay, thank you.